Soup is one of them things that I really like to make. I mean, I just have soup any time of the day. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner, I could eat a soup. But sometimes I don't always have the time to prepare soup the way that I want to make it, which is, a nice, hearty, rich Caribbean / Trini soup. So what I'm doing today is showing you a good way to meal prep and prepare your soup base ahead of time. So when you're feeling for soup, you don't have to go through the hassle of bursting peas and them kind of thing. As a matter of fact, we ain't going through no bursting peas thing again because I'm going to show you the right type of peas to use, split peas, to make your soup quick and easy. So without further ado, let me get into it. So this recipe is by no means a hard and fast thing. I'm putting together some simple ingredients here to give you a nice, real flavorful base. But of course, you could mix and match as you see fit, depending on the flavor profile you're going for. Now, one of the essential ingredients in my soup base is these orange lentils. Now, I don't know why they just call it red lentils because no part of this red. These are orange lentils. So we're using these orange lentils or the orange split peas because they cook really fast, like in 15 to 20 minutes. They cook, you don't have to worry about them, soaking it overnight or cooking it in a pressure cooker right on the stove top. This does cook in no time. So we're using this as part of our base. Also using some pumpkin. I have about 4 to 5 pounds of pumpkin here, about 4 pounds of pumpkin here. We're going to use that, and I mean, you see the color on this pumpkin, right? Nice, rich, deep amber color, almost the color of saffron. Yeah, or turmeric, almost the color of turmeric, right? This is the kind of pumpkin I like to use. Also going in with 2 large onions, because again, we're trying to build enough flavor into our base, right? I have 2 bundles of celery that I'm going to use as well. Of course, garlic is a must. Must have garlic in there. I'm using 4 macro-sized pimentos. You see the size of these pimentos? They're real big. So using 4 of these. But if you have smaller pimentos, you could use more if you want to. And then the spice of choice, because of split peas, is jeera. Jeera gonna give you that nice, warm, earthy finish to the soup base. So going in with some jeera inside it. So yeah, simple ingredients. Let me get into this. So because we don't want this taking no set of time to cook, because it's about efficiency, right? I want to cut the pumpkin into like real small cubes. I say real small, about like 1/2-inch cubes, because you want everything to cook and break down quickly and easily in the pot. And when you have a big piece of pumpkin like this, it's always a good practice to break it down into smaller pieces to peel it. Make it more manageable, right? And this is the way that I learn to peel like veggies and fruits and things, is holding the product in this hand, holding the knife, and then using your thumb to bring the blade back towards you and controlling the blade. Like watching my mother and my grandmother cooking, that's how I learned, that's how they teach me to peel stuff. Let me know down in the comments if all you learned a similar technique. 2 large onions. And because we're using this to make just the soup base for future use, I'm going to use the food processor or the chopper to break down my aromatics. So I just give them these a rough chop. And because we're going for full flavors in our soup base, no amount of garlic is too much garlic in this recipe. So literally use as much garlic as you want. Right here I have about 10 cloves of garlic, but if you wanted to use more, be my guest. Into our chopper we go, starting with the onions, garlic, pimento. Now we're gonna add the celery. Alright, so we have our seasoning base done here. So now is this time to get things cooking. Starting off with a little bit of coconut oil in our pot. Add in the jeera to toast in the oil. And if you're watching this channel long enough, or you've seen my cooking basics video, you know that the aromatics must saute. Adding a pinch of salt here, and what the salt is going to do is draw the water out of the aromatics and encourage caramelization, which of course is going to build even more flavor into our soup base. I'm going to leave this to saute for about 2 to 3 minutes. And you want to keep moving this around and giving it a stir ever so often so that the aromatics don't stick to the bottom and burn. Alright, 3 minutes later, we're looking good. We have a little color going on our seasoning slash sofrito. You're hearing it kind of frying, so you know that the water content has evaporated and we've cooked the rawness out of the onion, the garlic and the celery. Now at this point, I just want to add our pumpkin. Add in our orange lentils. Give a mix. Seasoning with more salt, some black pepper, and a little bit of bay leaf powder. And give this a good mix. Now we're going to add about 6 cups of water. Give this a good stir. So now we want to bring this up to a boil on high heat. Alright, so now that we are at a rolling boil here, I want to reduce the heat to low. And we're going to cover this back and allow it to simmer for about 30 minutes or until the peas and the pumpkin is tender. So 30 minutes later, and we are in again. Peas tender, good to go here. So if you wanted this to have a more smooth consistency, you could put this in your blender and blend it up so that it, has that very smooth texture to it. But for me, this is good because I want a little chunkiness to it. So like I said before, you can make this as smooth or as chunky as you want. Keeping it a bit chunky because, it's a little more versatile that way. And I could always thin it out as I see fit in the future when I actually make soup with this. And you can portion this out into batches depending on the amount of soup that you typically make. Because I store mine in the freezer, it'll stay in the freezer for like forever once your freezer working good. So depending on the amount of soup I'll make, I'll know how to portion it out. I typically make a full pot of soup to serve about 6 to 8 people. So a portion size like this, which is about 900 grams, 32 ounces here. So there we have it. Our soup base is done, and I have about 112 ounces of soup base here. Each of these here containers are 32 ounces, and I have about 16 ounces here. So depending on the size of pots, the amount of soup that I'm making, I could easily use like 16 ounces of soup base to make a soup to serve about 6 to 8 people, because obviously I'll be adding more provision. I'll be adding, carrots, probably a meat of some sort, and then other liquid. I might add coconut milk and that kind of thing. So by the time I use the base and incorporate it, with other ingredients and have a real nice soup going. And I'm not going to lie, while I was waiting for this to cool, I did eat a bit of it with some bread, and let me tell you, full of flavor, real rich, real nice. So trust and believe, this will give you a real best soup when you're ready to make one. So please subscribe to the channel because I will show you how to use this soup base to make a quick and easy soup in an upcoming episode. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and a share, and I will post a link to a full recipe on how to make this real best soup base, meal prepping, life hacks, kitchen hacks, taking a lot of the cooking time out of making soup, but still maintaining maximum flavor.